Hey guys, Shahan here and welcome to this new video and what is essentially the first video of the year. After unfortunately missing out on the first race of the season, we're finally going to Netherlands for the second round of Kartmasters. I got my things prepared in the background already, just have to pack it and then get going, so I see you at the track. And here we are already at Euroindoor Karting Swalmen for round 2 of Kartmasters. A championship that consists of 9 race weekends with 4 heats per race and qualifying before every heat. Apart from that, we are competing in lightweight class. Each race also holds a tactical element. This can either be a pit stop or, like in today's case, a long lap that you have to take for each heat. Skipping this will award heavy penalties or even disqualifications. Enough about the format, let's look at this unique indoor track. We take a big boat to start the first lap, heading towards a flyover bridge for a double right-hander. Coming down the bridge, you gain a lot of speed into this tricky braking zone for a right hairpin. This is followed by a double left, heading into a section of S's where you really brake deep into the apex of the corner to get it around for the next one. This is followed by a full-out left that leads us to a triple hairpin section, going right, left and another right, around those corners, really feeding the brake and gas to avoid unnecessary oversteer. Coming to a unique chicane where you really tap the brake to rotate the kart, heading to the last S's, back onto the start-finish straight to complete the lap at Euroindoor Karting. Now that we checked out this track, it's time to head into the first race of the day. Now you see that I will take a very wide line across those last corners to maximize the top speed that I take into the start of the first qualifying lap. As we go up the hill, we have to correct some oversteer, costing us valuable lap time. The karts here are especially sensitive, so every single movement can cost you dearly if it's just the tiniest bit too strong. Heading through the double left, we approach the S's, taking a very clean line into the first turn, getting a good exit out of the second one. This heads us towards the left into the triple S's, taking a lot of speed around the first corner and then slowly feeding yourself around to avoid any oversteer. Heading a good exit back onto the chicane, where I think we take the chicane a little bit too early, which means that I have to correct the steering of the car to avoid hitting the barriers. And you can see in the time it's not perfect, 41.7, over half a second slower than my personal best. This marks the end of our first qualifying session, or at least so I thought. Yeah, as you heard, the qualifying has to be repeated because there was a problem with time measurement. So here's us going again. But this gives us a chance to make up for our bad qualifying and try again. Heading into the first double right, we take a better way around, avoiding any oversteer, but still missing out on the apex on the next hairpin. This heads us towards the double left section, taking a wide line deep into the S's for the next braking zone. Taking a nice bow, preparing for the left, that leads us to this first of 3 hairpins, really taking a lot of speed around and then again maneuvering around those 3 180-degree corners. I think this time we managed to take the chicane a little bit better, and then again for the last S's take a nice clean line around to end our first qualifying session of the day with a 41.4. Still off my personal best, but at least a lot more decent than what we've done in the first try. As we head towards the grid, we line up in P10 for the first race. The race consists of about 20 laps each, equaling to around 15 minutes. Now, because the leader is always braking and accelerating, you can see us whack into the person in front and getting a whack from behind. This makes us lose around the kart length before we even start the first lap, and as you can see, it gets only more and more over the flyover bridge. This downhill braking zone is always super messy on the first lap, and you will see that play a big role in later races, as we for now are able to close up the gap at least a little bit to the guy in front. Now in the front you can already see carnage unfolding because the leading group is about to stack up, and going through those S's is going to be very tricky. A lot of guys bunching up, going too wide through those turns, and you can see that for the next chicane we see a small gap. We try to dive in, but then we get squeezed out again, which leads to us losing another position. Really frustrating, because from pace I felt like we could make up places instead of giving them away again. The card ahead of us now is Marco, who you maybe remember from the last race in Gevelsberg last year. I can definitely hold the pace with these guys, and I think I might even be faster in clean air, so I prepared to do an undercut. An undercut is a strategic method where you go for a pit stop or long lap earlier than the people in front of you to profit from an empty track and set faster lap times. Therefore, you virtually overtake them once the other people do their mandatory pit stop / long lap. However, this only works if you're actually faster than them, so let's try. For some reason the long lap exit was squeezed in a little bit, possibly happened in lap 1. This is of course frustrating because this cost us a lot of momentum and therefore theoretical time that we would have desperately needed. We lose a lot of places and therefore drop down to P16 behind slower drivers, ruining every chances to have a successful undercut. As you can see, we lose a lot of time trying to overtake people who don't get out of the way. They don't have to, I mean, we're fighting for position here. However, now I have to apologize, because unfortunately I forgot to empty my camera storage space. This means that the rest of race 1 and also the whole race 2 was unfortunately not recorded by my camera. A very stupid mistake and also very frustrating, because race 2 was actually pretty good. To summarize, we finished race 1 in P11 and race 2 in P9 after starting from P10. With an empty SD card and new focus, we head into qualifying for race number 3, where we take a wide line into the qualifying lap up the hill. We prepare our car for the first braking section down the hill here. You can really feel this acceleration, as I missed the apex again just by a little bit. And also the braking section is very difficult, because not only do you go downhill with a lot of speed, but also brake on concrete plates instead of actual tarmac. Now as we approach these triple S's, I can see that in the first one I brake a little bit too much. I think I could have taken more speed around there and end up losing some time that way. We take it around pretty clean for the rest of the section and then end up going through the chicane nice and smooth into the last S's, but from the prior mistakes you can already see that the qualifying lap is going to turn out as a 41.6, which is again half a second off my personal best, so there's definitely much more possible in qualifying for me. So far, inconsistency in qualifying is my biggest problem, but let's see how I can make up for it in the next race. Now you can see we really hang on to the guys in front tightly, and even though we get a better start than before, we somehow managed to lose a time again. Going up the hill, I think we have like around half a card length, and that extends more and more. As we go around the bridge into the first braking zone, we can make up a little bit of pace again. I think my card is just lacking a little bit of top speed, but it's pretty good under braking, so let's see how we can make up for it. And again we can see a bulk building up in the first lap. Now overtaking in these hairpins is very tricky. We try to leave a little bit of a gap to maybe get a switchback, and we are luckily enough to make it stick and therefore gain a place and go up to P7. Now because of the prior races and because I also know how much faster I was in practice, I give a signal to the guy behind me to work together and stay behind me. This way we can work as a team to get to the front pack better and then overtake as a group, instead of now fighting each other unnecessarily and losing time this way. As we head towards the second sector of lap 2, I really try to give it my best to stay to the guys in front and allow any opportunity to maybe gain 1 or 2 more places, which is definitely possible. As we can see, Marco is ahead of us and also closing up to guy in front of him again, which means that technically if he would make a mistake or if he would be able to actually overtake the other guy, we would be ready to benefit from either situation and gain more places. Now unfortunately Marco and the guy ahead of him were much quicker than me and I was not able to go their pace. But to make matters worse, we lose a lot of focus, and therefore in the next couple of turns, when we enter this S's section here, lose not only 1, but 2 places, because the driver behind him was also allowed to open up a gap and then giving him the advantage into the next turn, having the inside line, and then overtaking us again. This makes us lose 2 places in just 2 corners. And actually, this is just the beginning of a very poor race that's gonna unfold in the next couple of laps. I decide to take my long lap and see if I can gain some time in free air. However, I end up getting outside behind another kart and we go too wide through the chicane, getting squeezed a little bit, but so far pretty fair, and then have to give back the position. Now I don't want to waste any further time and get past this kart as soon as possible, because right now every single turn that I stay behind this kart is just more time that I lose towards the people that I'm actually racing against. And even though there's a small gap, every single time we hit those S's, I feel like over and over again the gap gets smaller. However, the following section in those triple S's is very difficult to overtake, so even if I get very close in the turns prior, there is little to no opportunity to overtake unless they make a mistake. Now, through other people boxing, as you could see, we were able to gain one more place, but are still stuck behind the car in front. And even though we get a better exit around this, getting up the hill, there is no chance to get past. It just closes up into the apex again, so we have to stay behind for now. Let's see how it goes on for the next couple of laps. And again I gain a lot of time under the braking here, but still there is no way around. The driver in front just keeps the kart very wide, no opportunity to overtake here, so I have to wait for another turn. Every single lap that I have to stay behind just makes me more frustrated, which leads to a moment in lap 10 that definitely ruined my race here. As you can see, I tried to dive inside way too late though, and then end up getting squeezed outside, hitting the barrier of the long lap and completely destroying it. I don't know what they were thinking there, but that was definitely not the way to go. I was for sure way too late into the prior corner, but pushing into the barrier is just not the way to go there. This means that I lost 3 positions and I'm now down in P13, having way more work to do to gain back up everything that I lost so far, and ruining my race, I think, for good. But there is still a little bit hope that we can actually make up at least a few of the places that we lost here. Especially considering that there is a whole pack in front of us that is still very tight together, giving us a lot of opportunity to overtake. However, when we come around the next corner, you can see the person in front goes for the long lap. It's the same driver as before with our incident, and then end up getting slammed again, turned sideways, and this leads to us not only getting stuck behind them, but losing a lot of time to the pack in front. As you can see, they're already heading up the flyover bridge as we just come around the last corner to end the lap. So there is a lot of time lost in there. I think we have at least around 10 seconds of a gap to the pack in front, and this means that this race is definitely for the bin. This is also why I now skip to the last lap, because as you can see, we didn't gain any more places and end the race in P11, which is such a shame because the starting position was much more promising, and also I think that with a little bit more luck and a cleaner race, we would have been able to avoid those situations and therefore would have definitely been able to score a better position for this race. But that's it for race 3, and we are now heading to the final race of the day. Now after this bummer in the race prior, there was definitely a lot of ground to make up for, as we head into the final race of the day. We once again prepare our qualifying lap, taking a long go around the final corner. Now taking this white line is supposed to maximize your top speed before you head into the start-finish straight to go up the hill and then start your flying lap. As we come flying down the bridge, we see that we take a much better apex this time into the first braking zone, definitely get a lot closer to that inside wall there. Approach the first couple of S's, I think we always get around there quite clean. That corner always feels very natural to drive, and we send it down into the first hairpin for the triple section. Again, trying to steer very gently around those second and third corner before you enter the chicane with a slight brake tap, I think a little bit late here, we could have gone a little earlier, and then around the final S's to end the last qualifying of the day. And if we now look at the time, it's a 41.5, meaning that in all 4 or maybe 5 qualifying sessions, I was not able to get up to the time that I did in practice. But that's just the reality of hot lap qualifying. You only get one single try to set a good lap time. But let's look at what is possible in the last heat of today's event. As we are sticking very close to the front, I think we get a good start this time. However, as we go up the hill, a little bit of a gap, but not that much, we can stay behind. As we go downhill, I try to dive up the inside, but on those slippery concrete plates, I lose the kart and then end up slamming into the guy in front of me. Big sorry there, that was completely unnecessary and way too motivated of me, but I thought I'd rather try to dive up the inside instead of wait behind just like in the last race before. Ended up pretty badly both for me and for him, as we lost some places, and I think he lost some places too, but he was able to actually gain some back in the later stages of the race, so let's see how it goes out now. As we see that there is another slow driver in front of us, we'll try to make our way around, get the switchback maybe, but not enough to get alongside, have to stay behind for the chicane. And if we skip ahead to the next lap, we see that we're still stuck behind him. I try letting him go wide and hope for him to outbrake himself to maybe then get a switchback and then overtake him. But this doesn't work, so I have to stay behind another time, waiting for him to actually take this tactical element in the next lap and then get past this way. This gives us free space until the driver in front of us decides to take their long lap in the next turn. This gives me the opportunity to set a new target and actually try to overtake them. So I lock in and try to get as close as possible, and as you can see, we're getting closer lap by lap and approaching, trying to prepare an overtake for the next possible turns. The focus here has to be on staying consistent. You have to get those apexes very right, have little to no oversteer, and really try to minimize any time lost. And even though we get around here pretty well in those S's, we get compromised on the exit again just by being too slow and having nowhere to go or to overtake. So, which is why we have to stay behind again and then decide to take our tactical element for this race. This drops us down only one position that we can try to fight back for. However, we don't even have to do that because the driver in front in the next lap decides to take his tactical element, getting out of the way again and allowing us to have some free air. This means that we can actually focus and then get those lap times back in without any obstacles in our way. And as you can see, we were actually able to catch back up with the driver in the blue helmet from earlier. This means that we can now prepare an overtake again, maybe set up a good exit and get the move done as soon as possible. Now as I exit the last of those 3 combinations, I look behind because I can already hear an engine. This means that not only we are catching up to the driver in front of us, but we're being caught by the driver behind, leading to a double situation where we try to overtake to the front, but at the same time not be overtaken by the guy in the back. Now as we hit halftime of the race, the situation is heating up a little bit. We try to stay as close as possible, but the driver behind tries to dive inside, squeezes himself past, but we're able to defend the position on the inside for now. This stays this way for the next couple of laps as we skip to lap 14, where I try to focus back to the driver in front again. Here I really try to take a good exit for those S's again where I win the most amount of time, but due to the lack of focus on the driver behind, I just open up a big gap that he seizes with no regret. This bugs me because it was just down to my lack of focus. If I would have been conscious enough, I would have actually been able to take a defending line or a more defensive line and therefore not allow this overtake to happen. This overtake not only marks P10 for us, but also the end of today's racing event for Kartmasters. It was an overall very brutal race day with many mistakes, but the pace was very promising for the future. So friends, that's it for today's video. I hope you had fun watching it, at least as much as I had driving the race. There is definitely a lot of learnings to take from that and a lot of steps to be made. If you liked this video, I would really appreciate a like and maybe also a comment down there. And if you want to see the next video, which is gonna be in Spa, directly next to the Grand Prix track, then I would really suggest you to also subscribe to this channel, put on the notification, and then I see you in the next video already. Until then, take care, have an awesome day, and I see you soon. Bye bye.